He took a literal shot, 12 gauge, pointed it at my dad. My dad called the cops, had him arrested. When my mom's 19, she gets pregnant with me. She's not married, so her and my dad decide we should get married. We're having a baby. She has me. A month later, gets pregnant with my sister. They got 2 kids, okay? My dad's in the military. He gets stationed in Alaska. So we moved to Alaska, and then 2 years later, he gets deployed to Iraq. While he's in Iraq, marriage falls apart, parents divorce, my mom moves my sister and I to Oklahoma. 2 years go by, haven't heard from dad, and all of a sudden he reaches out saying he moved to Texas and he wants to be in my sister and I's life again. So graciously, my mom agrees. She lets us see our dad. Turns out he wanted to introduce us to his new wife, who is now my stepmom. We start seeing my dad and stepmom twice a year, and every time we mentioned my mom, my stepmom got so pissed. She was so bitchy and so rude about it, and we just weren't allowed to talk about my mom, and we didn't know why. Fast forward, my mom marries my stepdad. They also decide to move to Texas, and we end up within a 1-mile radius of my dad and stepmom. Total coincidence. But because of that, we started seeing my dad and stepmom every other weekend. Fast forward to middle school. One day, my mom's out of town, and my stepmom is supposed to pick my sister and I up from school, but she doesn't show up. She sends us a text saying that she decided to go back to Alaska to see her parents, and she's sorry she didn't come. So we call stepdad, show him the text, and he says, "I bet your dad cheated on her." And we're like, "Why would you say that?" And he said, "Because he cheated on your mom."
Families are often messy, but the drama of this family is unbelievable.
We didn't know that because mom never told us that, but he gets the permission from my mom to show us all of the court documents, and sure enough, my dad cheated. So the next weekend, my stepmom's back in town, and her and my dad still want to see us that weekend, so we go over. They sit us down. She tells us that he had an affair, okay? I'm sitting there, super awkward. My sister's crying, and then she apologizes to us for always being so rude about my mom and hating my mom. She says that my dad told her the reason him and my mom got divorced was because my mom kidnapped us while he was in Iraq, and so she hated my mom because she thought that she was a kidnapper.
It's shocking to hear that Liz's dad used his kids to help fuel his deceit.
After this, they decide that they want to make their marriage work because they have a kid, so they move to Alaska so she can be close to her family, and they continue working on their marriage. Throughout the years, my sister and I go to Alaska, back and forth. We're still seeing them. Fast forward to my high school graduation. They were going to come down to see my graduation, and so were my stepmom's parents, okay? My step-grandparents. The day comes, they text me, I go to their hotel room, and I see no sign of my grandparents. So I say, "Where's grandma and grandpa?" My stepmom tells me, "Well, grandpa's in jail because he tried to kill your dad."
The grandparents have entered the arena of family conflict.
Turns out, grandpa was drunk one night and was so mad that my dad cheated on his precious daughter that he took a literal 12 gauge, pointed it at my dad. My dad called the cops, had him arrested. Grandpa gets let out of the slammer the next day because he made bail, because turns out the shotgun was not actually loaded. So my grandma paid his bail. He gets let out, but he now has an ankle monitor, cannot go anywhere, and my dad and stepmom have a restraining order against them, so they don't see them anymore. Fast forward, my sister and I go to college. Because of summer classes, jobs, whatever, we're not able to see my dad and stepmom as much, so our relationship starts getting kind of rocky. We're not talking as much, not seeing each other anymore. All of a sudden, my sister takes a biology class in college, and her professor recognizes our last name. So she asks her, "Are you related to my father?" She says, "Yes, how did you know that?" She says, "I was deployed with your dad, stationed at the same place." Come to find out, my sister's biology professor in college is the woman that my dad had an affair with.
How is it possible for such coincidences to occur?
So we discovered that information. We talked to my dad. We both end up graduating college, but my dad shows up to both of our graduations and takes us out, complains and bitches the whole time about how expensive the hotel room was, the flight, all of this stuff. Just like, why are you even here, kind of thing. Like, you don't need to be here. We end up having a huge falling out, and we stop speaking to him. We block him on everything. The only form of contact that we have now with our dad is when he shoots us emails just telling us what he's doing with his life. I have 2 half siblings that are 10 years and 15 years younger than me, and they don't really know me, and it's really sad, but yeah, that's the way it is.
That is one ridiculously wild story to tell in under 5 minutes. Bless Alyssa and her sister for growing up into such uncertainty for the first few years of their lives. Thankfully, the truth came out in the end, and while it may be difficult for them to have a relationship with their father, they can at least decide for themselves now that they finally have all the facts and all the hidden secrets about their family. The comments were mostly grateful for Liz's no-nonsense way of telling her story by saying, "Thanks for getting straight to the point without a long-winded intro. I was invested for the whole story, and I'm here for the messy. And I am awed by people who can tell stories this efficiently. That would have taken me at least 15 minutes to get out." As always, thank you for watching Happiest. If you liked this video, then be sure to follow our Instagram and our TikTok pages for more eye-opening stories like this. And of course, if you have any of your own videos that you'd like to share with us, be sure to send them in.